If I perish, I perish, but I'm going to see the King. If I perish, I perish, but I am going to see the King. These were the words of a young Jewish woman who was compelled by God's love to save the entire Jewish nation. Today I'm going to talk to you about selfless and determined love. We see this in the book of Esther, and we learn 3 key points from Esther's life. Point number 1. Esther was not originally called. Esther was an orphan until her cousin Mordecai adopted her and raised her as his own daughter. Esther was young, inexperienced, and just a normal girl. Many of us feel that we're too young or we don't have what it takes to enhance the kingdom of God, but I'm here to tell you today that God does not call the qualified, but He qualifies the called. Even though she was not called by God, she was compelled by His love. She was driven. She was determined to make a difference for Him. Point number 2. Esther was selfless and determined. Esther was willing to sacrifice her life, and we see that in the famous line, "If I perish, I perish." In the end, Esther ended up saving the entire Jewish nation. We as teenagers need to be like Esther in our schools. Esther was determined to save the Jews. We need to reach out and save our friends no matter what, because Esther was willing to give her life. We may think that we are too young, but in Philippians 4:16 it says that I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. Another verse in the Bible that explains this is 1 Timothy 4:12. Do not let anyone look down on you because you are young. Let me say that again. Do not let anyone look down on you because you are young. Instead, make your speech, behavior, faith, and purity for other believers. God used many young people to do great and amazing things for Him. He can use you. He can even use me. Some of the people that God used was Daniel, Samuel, Jeremiah, and God even used Mary. Mary being a young teenager, He used her in such a miraculous way. And God also used many of the disciples. We as teenagers are the beginning of something amazing in today's generation. Point number 3. Esther refused to remain silent. When Esther said, "If I perish, I perish," that was like a protest. When you are protesting, you are not silent. You are yelling to the top of your lungs, just hoping that maybe someone will hear you. One girl who has an amazing story about not being silent is a girl named Cassie Bernal from Columbine. Cassie Bernal was not originally called, like Esther, to do anything for the kingdom of God. But one summer at a youth retreat, God did something miraculous in Cassie's life, and she was now a new creation. About a year later, her and some friends were in the school library when some kids went on a shooting rampage, shooting everybody in their path. And as they came to Cassie, they asked her, "Are you a Christian?" Now, Cassie could say no and spare her life, or she can say yes and do what's right for God. Now let's picture this. Cassie has a gun pointed to her head. Her friends are laying there dead on the floor and blood is everywhere. What would you do? How would you react in a situation like this? Well, I can tell you today that Cassie said yes. At that point, the boys shot Cassie to her death. This is the story of a girl who was not silent. We have to learn to be bold and stand up for God just like Cassie and Esther did. Why should we do this? What is the point for all of this? Because God's love compels us to. His love is so strong that it will make someone want to spare their life just for Him. What will you do? Will you just sit there in your little cubby holes and not do anything? Or will you stand up and do what's right for God? You choose.
Come on, give it a little air, everybody, come on. 13 years old, come on. I know a lot of adults who will not be willing to do this. But at 13 years old, this was a category that we had entered this year, this junior category preaching, so we're really, really proud of Liera and Kenny and the other ones who participated. All right now we have a young lady. We got 2 more things, so hang in there with us. I know you guys are bored. You're bored, right? I didn't think so. We have a young lady that's going to sing, and if anybody know who Yolanda Adams